WFRB TV Local 5, your local election headquarters. This is Newsmaker Sunday with your host, Tom Zalaski.
Good morning. Welcome to Newsmaker Sunday. I'm Tom Zalaski. Today, we take up the topic of human trafficking in Wisconsin. The crime is known as a modern-day form of slavery. The victims are subjected to force or fraud or coercion for the purpose of sexual exploitation or forced labor. According to the Wisconsin Department of Justice, 80% of all cases involve sex trafficking. And joining us this morning to discuss is a difficult topic, TERRA KOSLOWSKI of the Damascus Road Project based in Appleton, and Sergeant Matthew Wilson of the Brown County Sheriff's Office. And we thank you both for joining us this morning to being on Newsmaker Sunday. TERRA, first to you, how big of a problem is human trafficking in the state of Wisconsin?
There have been cases of human trafficking reported in almost every county in Wisconsin. In just about every county. In the area where Damascus Road works, we work in the Fox Valley area. We are located in Oshkosh, but we work throughout the state. And right now, just this last year, we have worked with 122 new survivors that we have in our aftercare program. So that's just new people this year.
So Sergeant, TERRA says in almost every county in the state of Wisconsin. We normally think of human trafficking as big city stuff. That's not the case, is it?
Correct. It's actually not. And I would actually go a bit further and say that we've, through our studies and training, it would be every county in the state of Wisconsin, all 72 of them. It's not a big city problem. It actually is probably more of an issue in your smaller rural areas because there's not a lot of law enforcement that knows how to investigate it or has time to investigate the problem at hand.
Who are these people? Who are these people being trafficked?
A lot of people have mixed ideas of what they think a trafficking victim is. I have a lot of people come and ask me when I go and do presentations in the community, is it somebody who just is kidnapped or taken? And really, it's actually more so a process of grooming is how someone is recruited. So there are actually people who are young people. That's a target vulnerability, is just being younger. Oftentimes they're targeted online with someone who starts to talk with them through an app or through a social media or some type of chat, and are just recruited through usually the boyfriending tactic, the promise of love, or maybe somebody who might be thinking about running away or has run away from home. This person who's trying to traffic them could offer them a place to stay or food or clothing, and then eventually force them into trafficking, into forced prostitution or exploitation.
So rather than physical force, this is more manipulation in many of these cases, Sergeant.
Yeah, a lot of times they hold either some sort of housing or drugs. A lot of it's drug and alcohol related. I would say probably close to 95% of the girls that we run into have some sort of AODA problem, alcohol or drug problem, whether it's addiction to drugs and or alcohol or both. The pimp or the trafficker that typically what we see is they keep them under the wraps or under their thumbs of the trafficking for drug purposes, for their crack cocaine or for the heroin, because they know that the female or male in some instances need that drug and they need it to survive. So in order to get it, they're forcing them to go work on the streets in order to get that drug to survive. And if that's their only way of income to get that drug so that they can go about their day as what they consider normal.
So are there cases where the victim maybe does not want to escape the situation?
Yes, mainly because they may not realize at the time that they actually are a victim of trafficking. A lot of the women that we work in our aftercare program at Damascus Road, we work with women who have been in jail. We meet with them in the jail, and the reason why they're in jail is because they might have been picked up on other charges like drug charges or other related charges, but they've never had anyone address the issue of trafficking with them. So we put up a poster in the Winnebago County Jail explaining what trafficking is, and then we've had women ask to meet with us saying, that's part of my story. They really just thought this person was their boyfriend, someone that they were in love with, and they were just doing this to get money, and really they didn't realize that it was actually someone who planned out how they were going to exploit them. But the victim didn't realize it until someone had explained it to them.
Yeah. There are people watching right now who have children, especially teenage daughters. Who's most vulnerable out there?
Obviously, in our locally, we're seeing females. It's anywhere from the ages of 12 to 14 is your average nationally of the vulnerable girls. But we've seen as young as 10 locally. We've seen as young as 6 in the state of Wisconsin. A lot of this stuff, as Tara was talking about, comes from online. You can be anybody you want to be online. So if the issue of age or racial or anything like that comes up, you can make profiles all day long and be whoever you want, a different age, a different race, a different nationality, whatever you want, at any point in time on any of these applications. So where the boyfriend-girlfriend situation comes in, that's where somebody falls in love online. They think they know the person, but they actually don't. It's somebody completely different, probably a much older male that is just trying to gain the trust of this younger female to get her away from the parents.
As you say, you can be anybody you want to online. How tough is it for law enforcement to find the guy who's on the other end, who's doing this?
It's depending on the app that they're using. It's a lot of work to find out who it is. Eventually, we're going to find out who you are, but it does take a lot of work on the back end as far as writing search warrants and subpoenas to these application companies or these software companies to say, hey, who is behind this IP address? Who is behind this mask of this person? So it does take some time, but eventually we will find out who they are. But again, by that time, they've probably created another username on another application, and they're on to a different girl if that girl didn't work out.
So the culprit thinks he's being smart. He thinks he's outsmarting all of you, your office and your office. But eventually, you do have ways to trace that person.
Correct. Through the power of search warrants and subpoenas, the Department of Justice assists with administrative subpoenas to companies. And there's certain things that we can do on our end to identify the suspect in the cases.
And since it is online, and you talk about people thinking that they're in love, there are people being trafficked who don't know they're being trafficked.
Right. That's one of the main vulnerabilities is finding someone who maybe has lower self-esteem, maybe is posting things online that is very personal, something like, my parents just don't understand, I just wish I could get out of here, posting anything and everything they're thinking and feeling. That's what someone who is a recruiter, a trafficker, is going to look for.
It's like opening your diary.
Right. So at Damascus Road, one of our goals is to provide education, especially in schools and community groups, because if young people know the tactics that traffickers are using, then hopefully they'll be able to recognize it. And when someone starts to say something very flattering to them, they'll be able to recognize, hey, I learned about this. This might not be what it seems like.
Yeah. Sergeant, how big of a problem is drugs in playing into this whole problem?
Huge. I work with our drug task force, if not daily, weekly, obviously. They're referring cases to us. We're referring cases to them. It's a huge issue because, again, they're essentially trapping these girls and guys too, obviously, can be. They're essentially trapping them under the guise of, if you don't do this, I'm not going to give you that drug. And if you don't get that drug, you're not going to survive. Because essentially addiction is a very tough thing to overcome, and it physically and mentally breaks you down if you don't have what you need to survive on a daily basis.
We continue our conversation right after this, so please stay with us.